do you increase your rank on Google? I'm Ben with Building Business, and I've got Jim Aline here, and we're going to dive in on the secrets behind Google's algorithm. So, the first thing is there's two basic types of things that you're using on Google. There's like the main search engine stuff, and then there's also the local stuff, right?
Yeah.
And they kind of feed together, but they're actually two different animals in some ways, right?
Yeah, we could talk about that a little bit to start with. There's really different types of searches. So some searches are locally based.
Yep.
In that, you're going to be in organic SEO ranking on Google. There are two places there. There's the map section, and then there's the websites that Google feels most relevant to that search query. If you ever type something into Google and you don't see the map section, that is a national search. So Google is looking at that as in a different way. Right?
It's like global.
It's global. It is global, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so in those searches, you're going to find companies from all over. Right?
Yep.
You're going to find, and so that's the first thing to understand in ranking is what are you going after? Are you going after those national search terms or those local search terms?
And most of our customers are going to be focused on the local stuff. That's where the bread and butter is.
Local. So I like to talk about it in terms of marketing funnel. So at the bottom of funnel are the words that people are typing into Google when they're looking to make a phone call.
Yep.
Before that, in the middle of funnel, it's the words and questions that they're typing in when they're starting to get into buying mode. And then the top of funnel is when they're just looking more for information. Mm-hmm. So starting at the top of the funnel, it would be something like, what is the best color roof for a blue house? Mm-hmm. There's no intent in calling someone when they type that into Google. This could be, hey, we're thinking of our dream home to build 25 years from now, and we want to. I wonder what a roof color would be for that house, right? Like, what would be a good match for that? And then when they get into that, they're starting to make a buying decision.
But it's super important to think about that strategically. You say, man, if I'm the company that generates content that is very high value for them, then who are they going to think about calling later, right?
That's right.
But a lot of our customers' websites even don't have a lot of informational content. It's more like, here, use us. We do this, and this,
Yep.
And there's an opportunity there for people to build out that type of content to capture that top of funnel lead.
Yeah. So to understand the ranking, understanding where you're developing content into which part of the funnel you're developing that content into. Mm-hmm. Middle of funnel, what is the typical cost of a roof in, right? Things like that. What is the best roofing material to use in Dallas, Texas?
Yep.
Right? To prevent future hail damage. Or, like if you write an article, that's someone they're more in buying mode. And then at the bottom of funnel, it's all framed around the main services that you provide. So I'm going to go with roofing because that's my forte. Roofers, the word roofers gets searched 165,000 times nationwide in the United States each month.
Okay. Yeah.
The phrase roofing companies roofing companies, plural and singular, gets searched 60,500 times. Roofing contractors, 49,500 times. So those are kind of your top three in that. And now if you move over into siding or fencing or decks or things like that, you figure out those three, those top, the top searched ones. That's your bottom of funnel. That's the words that people are typing in when they're wanting to make a phone call. And then you build your website starting with those.
Yep. Because that's the final place they land is on your website. So you want to be targeting specifically those keywords.
Targeting those keywords that are closest to a phone call.
Especially on your homepage, probably.
Especially on your homepage, and having inner pages that go into great detail about all of those things.
Yeah.
So then you start moving into the middle of funnel because now you have the bottom of funnel covered, right? Now that's you're closest to a phone call. Covered that.
Yep. Now
you move into the middle of funnel. Get to covering that. When you move into the informational content, you're moving into national searches. It's a lot of times it's not people in your local area that are seeing those articles. So there's less of a chance of a phone call from that. But that content is valuable in terms of Google's in your authority.
See, this is where I think it gets really interesting. When we talk about ranking, one of the ways you can not game the system, it's just play the game.
Yeah.
Is If you have high value content, it makes your overall rank go up in your local area, even if it's somebody from Washington State that clicked on something from Minnesota.
That's true.
It helps your website ranking.
But I wouldn't start at the top.
No, for sure. You want to start at the bottom of the funnel.
We took on a client a couple of years ago. They were ranking for thousands of keyword phrases.
Okay, good for them.
And they weren't ranking for best roofing company, city, state.
Which is the number one thing they should be ranking for.
So they went backwards. Yep. And now we've been able to build that and get them into those positions, right? So they went, but because they built all that content, they had authority on the website. The website was authoritative so that it was easier to get ranked for those bottom of funnel keyword terms, but it's all about, but if you were to start at the bottom, work your way up, because that's the easiest path.
Now, I've seen some clever ways that people have merged both. For instance, you have a weather event in your specific locale that was named, like a hurricane or something. And then you talk about your specific efforts around that and information about that. And suddenly now it's a local search and an info search.
That's right.
And that's super, super powerful. Now you got to capitalize on those, but you can get creative. There's a lot of stuff you can do that way.
We do that for our clients. We write articles about every storm event that happened and the date that it happened and things like that, because people will, especially in insurance restoration work, people will Google that storm date to know where they're at in their process. Do I have time to file my claim, not file my claim? When, there's a lot of that factoring in. So they Google those storms, right? Yeah. The June 11th storm in this city state, right? Like that, they'll Google that, the XYZ, the tornado in this area, the hurricane, this city state, and having that content on the website is very valuable. We see it in our tracking that that phone calls come from those pages.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah. So you can get really smart about it.
You can. I want to point out one thing. Now, we're talking about the website. Having all of that content on the website really improves your chances of your Google business profile showing up in the map section. So here's a simple example. Wherever you're located right now, go to Google and type in commercial roofing companies, tile roofing companies, metal roofing companies. Go down to the map section. And I don't know if you've noticed this recently or not, but Google will put things below your listing that it provides metal roofing.
Yeah, it's like guessing what you do. Well, not guessing, but it's like sort of interpreting it, right?
So there's 3 places that they're getting this information from. First are the categories that you're selecting in your Google business profile. That's the first place. That's where it says provides.
That's an easy one.
Right? That's an easy one. So make sure you've selected all of the categories of the services that you provide in great detail on your Google business profile. The second thing that you will see underneath there is their website mentions.
So there's your content play right there.
That's your content play. So without the content on your website, your Google business profile didn't show up.
Yeah.
Right? So when we're talking about increasing rankings, there is such a strong correlation between your website and your Google My Business listing. The third place that you'll see a review.
Yep.
And you'll see those keywords that someone typed in that review. And so essentially, this is my favorite thing to say, Google only knows how to read.
Yep.
So it's reading all of the information that you've given it on your Google business profile. It's reading all the information on your website, and it's reading all the information on your reviews.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing. When people talk about like, how does Google decide if I should be number 1 or number 5 on that My Business? Because my competitor is always over me. It's super frustrating. It's like, well, we just talked about some of it.
Yep.
But one thing that people aren't considering, Google thinks of your review as a way to know if you're the best contractor when people put in best, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the factors that's used. And they frankly think anything lower than a 4-star average is not even includable in that list unless there's nobody else to show.
That's right. And
so you're hurting yourself if you're not really focusing on reviews. And I know we're going to have a whole other session on this, but I think it's worth mentioning that this is as important as any of the content you're doing, the review focus.
There is a trustworthiness factor that gives to Google, but also let's just think about human psychology.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter if you're showing up in that map pack or not. if you are showing up next to competitors who have as good, or if you don't have as good or better a reputation,
Nobody's going to click on it.
no one's going to call you.
Yeah.
So the reviews matter even more than just the trustworthiness to Google. When a potential customer is searching for a service that you provide, and you show up in that Maps listing and you have 3 reviews, and your competitors have 160 reviews, you're out of luck.
Looking bad.
No one's calling you. Or if your star rating is low, like you said. There was a study done that really the sweet spot is between 4.3 and 4.8.
Makes sense.
No lower than 4.3, 4.8 on the high end. Where I think 5 stars is great. But
most people question it if you see that.
If this is where I feel they question it, is when you get to hundreds of reviews.
Yeah.
They don't question it at 30 reviews.
Right.
They don't question it at 50, 70. But then now you have 438 5-star reviews. You're telling me that you never had that customer that doesn't give a 5-star review to anyone. Hey, sorry, Ben, you did an amazing job for me. I just don't give 5-star reviews, right? You're going to have them. It's expected. Or none of your people cut someone off in traffic and you got a bad review about it.
Right, exactly.
Come on, man. One thing I do want to point out on this too is it all goes together, right? So making sure the thing that you can do as a contractor is get those reviews, right?
Yep.
Getting those reviews is the most impactful thing. And then, whether it's you or a company, an agency you hire, or someone on your team that's building out that content on a regular basis and just continuing to build that. Google business profiles are shown around proximity, relevance, and authority.
Yep.
Proximity is the most important factor. Mm-hmm. So wherever your office is located, Google your company from that location, look at the other companies that show up in the map section, and now you have a target for the amount of reviews that you need to get to.
I love it. Yeah. You're being really, really thoughtful about that specific segment.
Yep, for sure.
Thanks so much for joining us. You've got to go to jobnimbus.com/building business now. We've got a bunch of resources there. There's tips and tricks, there's industry insights, and all of it is free. So go and check it out right away. Job Nimbus is the best software tool to get you more organized, more efficient, and frankly, to give you your life back so you can have some life balance as you run your business.
For more information about roofer marketers, go to roofermarketers.com and get a copy of our free book, The Best Known Roofer, the omnipresent framework for your roofing company.